That was pretty fantastic. Whew. And knowing, knowing my brake lights were working made it so much nicer. The signals, of course, continue to work when they feel like it. So, I'm not sure what I will do now. I have so much to do, and maybe I'll just let the bike sit here, cool off, and I should put some extra oil in the transmission. I think in terms of oil, we're fine. All this gets warm enough to steam out the top here. As we know, a flathead engine, as my friend Big John used to say, only gets 6 times hotter than the sun. Oh. Anyway, time to lock it up. Oh, there is one thing. As you get older, it is... I've got a footboard here. I could put my foot on to get off. I just have a bad feeling if I do trust it, my foot's going to slip off and terrible things will happen. So I will turn off the gas. I will lock the ignition. I will turn the wheel. Not that it's going to roll away, but in case something happens. Another really wonderful thing about this is I can go to the store and actually carry things. Double check the keys. So there. One Harley-Davidson SERVI-CAR. So, I guess that's all. Until we meet again, we will meet again. So, hello. Funny, I had just taken a whole lot of time to set up a shot with me sitting in the foreground, with the trike sitting in the background, so that I could talk about the trike. But with the time of day that it is, with the shade and the light, all we would have ended up with was me as a shadowy figure getting in the way of the beauty of the trike. So, I readjusted things, I moved the bike. I, of course, speaking to all photography people, if you get close enough to something, such as the side of a car, the chances of getting a great reflection are pretty good. So, on this day, spring of 2018, I've had this thing out running today a number of times. Went to the post office a couple of times, went to the store to get some oil for the transmission, had the handlebar apart to try and get the brake lights working, and as far as I know, the brake lights are now working. The turn signals work some of the time. I'm still baffled by all of that, but I'm not going to tackle it today because it seems to be pretty happy so far, so good. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with these machines, 45 cubic inches, or as the manual says, 742 cc's. There are bikes today, that kind of displacement would create incredibly marvelous power and speed. But this engine, from what I know, went into production in 1929, or let me think, some 89 years ago. So let us think about that. 89 years in the automotive industry in terms of history. That is certainly before emission controls, before any worry about fuel economy. Well, I mean, I guess everyone's always been interested in fuel economy. Even when I watched the Waltons, when I don't know how much gas was, but I'm sure it was always a concern as to how to get somewhere. But actually, when I think about this, 1929, I think the show The Waltons first, well, it took to the air in 1971, which is 2 years before this bike was built, most of it anyway. And but it was based in the Depression, I think somewhere around the 30s. I'm not sure exactly what year. Oh, here comes a little dog.
It's a cool bike.
Thank you. I've been tinkering on it today.
Oh, yeah?
Just taking a break. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
So, anyway, it wasn't... it might have been, I don't know if it was 1936 or when, but it wasn't, the war had not begun yet, so it wasn't 1939. So basically the Waltons took place, or started, on TV a couple years before this bike was built, but it was about a time period just after this engine went into production. So talk about a period piece. So yes, as much as I know, most of this bike is a 1973, which may or may not be the last year of production. Maybe there was some in 1974, I'm not sure. It was used by the Toronto Police, or sorry, the Metropolitan Toronto Police back then. And it's funny, I vividly remember I was once sitting on a trolley bus, and for those that don't know, it's the same as any other bus. It just used electricity, had two poles that went up to these two wires along the street, and whipped along. I think in some ways way ahead of their time at the time, and of course, what happened? Well, they got rid of them. Anyway, but I remember being on Eglinton Avenue in Toronto, going home from school, and the weather was not great, and it's a pretty big hill at some point along Eglinton leading up to Avenue Road, but I remember sitting there looking over and seeing it was probably not a cop, it was probably a Green Hornet, which is like a fellow who gives out parking tickets, but I don't remember specifically. Anyway, on one of these things, sitting, waiting to go, and then going, and anyway, I remember vividly seeing it. I never, ever, 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 ever envisioned that I would get such a thing, have such a thing, want such a thing, need such a thing. But here it is, some 30, maybe 5, 6, 7 years later, and I've had a beast like this beast. Not quite that long, but almost that long. I'm trying to think what year. It might have been 1984 or 1985 that I got this. I'm not just sure now. I know that in the trunk in the back is a sticker, excuse me, commemorating that the Blue Jays were champions, and in fact, they did do well that year, but that was the year that they were up 3-1 in the playoffs, and then they lost the next 3 and were out of the playoffs, and thus did not make it to the World Series, and yet it looked so much like they would. So anyway, yes, I've had this for quite a long time. Actually, the seat on it is very much like the original is supposed to be. For a long time, I did not have that seat. I watched and looked and waited and searched swap meets and other things for a long time. Never did find one that I wanted. And then finally I found one online some, 3 or 4 years ago maybe. So I still have the original that was redone, and it has sort of leather tassel-y things hanging off the back, which they're okay, but I never really liked them. So this is, well, as close to an original sort as I could get with the sort of the big diamonds on the side and all. What else? As you can see, probably, I don't keep it as shiny as I might, although, there are things on it that shine. It spews, well, not spews over, but, like most every time I start it up, I always spray some chain lube into the primary chain. And that gets here and there, and that's why the primary cover probably looks like it's covered in grease and oil, because, well, it is. It's had not horrible things ever happen to it, but there's a ding in the gas tank. Oh, here's something. People who know about these bikes will know, but people who don't won't know. And that is, it looks like a typical, I think, maybe, 3.5 gallon maybe tank. It does. And it does look that way, but on the other side, and the tank looks much the same as on this side, that's where the oil goes. So is the oil tank nearly as big as the gas tank? No, not really. If you take the one tank out and look, the gas tank is much bigger. It fits through the frame, and the oil tank sort of, although completely separate, sort of wraps around it. So I don't know exactly what the oil capacity is, and I don't know exactly what the gas capacity is. I just know that whenever I see a gas station, usually I stop and get more. It does have a reserve, but I don't really like ever going into it, because that means I'm got to find a gas station, and it doesn't mean I won't or I can't find a gas station. It just means I don't know how big the reserve is, so I really don't want to run out. So I just generally keep putting gas in it. Besides, this thing is not that fast. It slowly putters along. It rumbles. It backfires. It's funny, when I always hear people talk about when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and everyone thought it was a motorcycle backfire at first. Well, that's not such a strange thought, because, if I'm sort of putting along on this, not going too terribly fast in first or second. Oh, here comes our happy couple. Still here. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
More pedestrian traffic. Oh. Anyway, as I was saying, if I'm putting along on this, like if I'm in first, going, not very fast, but especially if I'm in second, and once again, not going very fast because it doesn't go very fast, but I just back off to coast. Producing a backfire is, well, I don't know how not to. And certainly, it's not just one. There's usually a series of backfires. And I know if you do watch some of the footage of the day John F. Kennedy was assassinated, you will see that there were, in fact, some of these machines close at hand by the Dallas Police Department, or owned by the Dallas Police Department, operated by the Dallas Police Department. And I think actually shortly after, in not the Zapruder film, but one of the other films from the other side, you actually see one of these go racing through underneath the triple overpass in Dealey Plaza. So for somebody to think that it was a motorcycle backfire, if anything can produce a great and glorious backfire, these machines can. At least mine can. I can't do one right now, but sometime I'll try and record the series of explosions. And I've been told at night it looks pretty cool. Anyway, so here is my Harley trike, or also known as a SERVI-CAR. We've been together for a very long time. It did start off when I had it as yellow, and I may have mentioned before, I kind of wish I left it yellow, but I do like black and chrome, or, black and chrome and some sludgy, gungy oil residue. Let's see, what did I do today? Oh yes, I got the brake light working as far as I know. I will have to reconfirm that. Tomorrow it's supposed to be a nice day, so I might actually venture forth and ride this down to work and back. I will double check the weather. I am hopeful that it will be lovely. Mind you, I will still get up very early and go very early. Because you see, when people are actually really commuting, they want to go. And they don't understand that when I'm at a stop light or a stop sign, and I'm on a slight incline, that getting going is a little bit more complicated than just stomping your foot down on the gas. I do have to get it revving, some, and play the clutch a bit, and sometimes it makes noise, but it certainly doesn't pull away very quickly, and it never does. I mean, if there was a place that had a speed limit of, say, 30 kilometers or 40 or even 50, I could break them, I suppose. But much above that, it would be something if I were ever to be pulled over to, say, be speeding in an 80 zone or anything like that. It is very rare I actually get shifted up into third gear, and there are only 3. Except for reverse. Yes, there is reverse. It's funny. I have not had it in reverse lately. Mind you, I just filled up the oil in the transmission, so I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it. But I've always had a little trouble shifting into it. It may be time for me to tinker and adjust the linkage that goes from the hand shift down to the transmission, because it's not like I use it very often, and certainly I'm pleased with where everything else is, but I guess because I haven't been riding it that much, a couple times I've gone into parking lots and forgot that, oh yes, I should really look for a place I can just nicely pull out of without having to back up, especially back up a hill. Because once again, I mean, I can do it, but earlier today when I was doing it and pushing with just my right leg, I did become aware of the fact that if I keep doing that, then surely I'm going to do something bad to my knee. So I think I will not keep doing that. So I will either make sure that I'm parked on a nice hill in a nice spot, that I can just gently roll down either forwards or backwards, or I will make efforts to tweak the linkage to try and get reverse to come into play easier. It used to be, if I would rev the engine, then sort of move the shifter up into second, and then down past neutral and into first, and then pull it back to reverse, it would pretty consistently work. So far this year, although I know this year is not very the riding season has just begun. So far I have not been able to get it into reverse ever so far yet. But, I really haven't tinkered. And also, I did squeeze quite a bit of oil into the transmission just moments ago. So, who knows if that will, it can't hurt, but I do think I will be tweaking the linkage a little wee bit. I guess, when I pull it back, and there's a little thing on the tank where it's, it's in there, it just seems like maybe I'm right at the end of it and there's nowhere to go before it quite gets in there. So usually I screw these things up on whether linkage should be longer or shorter and how to adjust it. Usually I think I know what I'm doing and I do it with the reverse, and if I reverse it thinking that I'm outthinking myself, I've done it the wrong way again. so just looking at it, because basically it pivots and pulls the thing. Maybe I need to make it... Ooh. I'm thinking maybe a little longer. Maybe. Maybe it's a little shorter. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not doing that now. Right now, I am sitting. I am rejoicing that the brake lights are working and the turn signals are somewhat working. And today is a lovely day. It kind of feels like a Goldilocks day. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. It's just right. It is. So, let me think about other moments in time of this trike. Actually, in Ontario, there is this thing called the Ride for Sight. And long ago, it was in Minden. And it never should have left Minden. It should have stayed in Minden. This would have been, once again, back between 35 and 40 years ago. I believe. Two Harleys just went by, but they didn't come down the street. Anyway, it was in Minden, and kind of like Daytona and Sturgis and other such things, after they've been, going to the same place for a while, they become legendary. And they just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, the Ride for Sight went to Minden a time or two, and then apparently somebody decided there in town that they had done some work on this baseball field, and they didn't want the bikers coming. I don't think they consulted the business owners, who saw this as a vast influx of disposable income, because certainly, without a doubt, I think the bars did well. I think the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, otherwise known as the LCBO, certainly did well. The beer store did well, but also restaurants, bars, and all kinds of touristy things. Not to mention the gas station, and who knows what else did well. Anyway, so it was there, and then it moved, and I don't know all, because you know what, if it had gone to Minden, I probably would have gone most every year. I think it went to Collingwood, and then Fenton Falls, and I don't even know where it goes now. And not that it isn't a good cause, because it is. It raises money for retinitis pigmentosus, which is basically like, what do they call it? Tunnel vision, where the outsides of your eyes, not the outsides. But anyway, I guess the retina stops working little by little, and then eventually all you can see are tiny little tunnels, and I think eventually even though you can probably see a little bit, you're considered legally blind. So it's a good cause, and if it had continued to go to Minden, I think now, besides being a legendary ride, it would be raising a lot more money for the cause, and it would have been, I can't say it would ever rival Daytona and other like Sturgis things, but it certainly would be a lot bigger. I guess the biggest thing in Ontario right now going on, there's the Friday the 13th Port Dover ride, which means that any time of year, if Friday happens to be the 13th, bikers go to Port Dover. And if it's a nice sort of time of year, there are thousands and thousands and thousands to go. And if it's not a nice time of year, there's still some. Anyway, back to the Ride for Sight. I went there years ago on my first sort of big adventure on this. And being that, let's me think, from where I lived then, Minden was probably 110, 20, maybe 120 miles away. or so. It was a significant ride. Now, mind you, I didn't ever think of this, as sort of something unusual to do on a machine such as this when I got it, because why would I think that? But anyway, certainly I have made the ride since then a time or two, and what normally I suppose would take most people a couple of hours will probably take me 4. Because well, I don't go fast, I can't go fast, and, I stop at most gas stations, and I pull over to let people go by, because everybody wants to go about 120 kilometers an hour, even though the speed limit on the secondary highways, which are just 2-lane roads, is 80. And I can sort of handle that, but not much more. So anyway, I do take my time. But anyway, I was heading up there, and I had a couple of mishaps along the way. First thing is we were just about getting into town when the front part of my headlight, the mechanism, not the mechanism, the housing, the holding, the everything, fell off. Just the front part, the round part, with the bulb and all of that. It just came off. So the big sort of metal part, oh, we have people.
Who's your friend you're going to daycare with? Moya? Oh, is Moya playing with you?
Where was it? Okay, so yes, basically the round part of the front of the headlight, including the bulb, came off, rolled across the highway, and rolled down the hill. And I stopped, as did the other people. By the way, we didn't go with the whole, hundreds of bikers. We went by ourselves because we knew we were going to be slower on our trikes and such. Anyway, so I pulled over, and my friend Big John, who it's been about a year since he died, and I miss him every single day. Anyway, he had a bead on where it went, so it rolled across the highway, didn't get hit by anything, and rolled down a hill. But by the time I got stopped and was coming to kind of have a look, there was Big John coming up the hill holding the headlight. So it seems that when it was put on, there were 6 bolts or screws or whatever holding it on, and they were put on with screws that were too short. So it just kind of worked its way free and said, well, I'm going now. But anyway, not much damage, just a little scuffing and such, and it's still the same as it was today, or it was then as it is today. Any marks that happened on that are still on there. It's not the same headlight bulb, because I did replace that, but the headlight didn't break. But here's a funny thing. We get to the place where the ride is, and to identify that you are part of the ride, they have a sticker, and the sticker is supposed to go on your headlight. Well, of course, when I pulled up, because we hadn't done anything to correct this, I just put the light in the trunk. He said, I need to stick this on your headlight. So I said, oh, okay, sounds reasonable. So I got off, opened up the trunk, brought the headlight out. He stuck the sticker on it. I put the headlight back in the trunk and carried on. So what you could see on the front of the bike was just a big gaping hole where the headlight should be. But I had the sticker. So oh look, more pedestrians. Time for a little drink. Anyway, later that night I had another mishap in that we were not staying the night. So, it was getting kind of late, and it was near the Minden Arena, and, the roads there were okay. But I guess they were paved somewhat, but, you know, they had ruts and things. And anyway, so I was coming along, everything was great, and I moved over because there was a gold wing coming the other way, and I hit a bump, or I hit a rut, or something. Anyway, something hit the exhaust pipe in the front and yanked it out of the engine, because it really isn't, at least on that one, the clamps here and there keep the pipes in, but there's really nothing that keeps the pipes in. Like, there's nothing to secure them to the engine. You put them in, you clamp them together, and everything is great. So anyway, whatever it was that hit, yanked the thing out. So, and we're just getting ready to ride back to Toronto. And I knew something was wrong because, boy, it got real loud real fast. So we tried to sort of get it sorted, figured, sort of, kind of, but it really wouldn't go back in. It was like it was a bend down the pipe, and then it was bent at the top. But so anyway, did the only reasonable thing, rode all the way back to Toronto with the pipe kind of lined up with the front cylinder exhaust, but not really there. So, you know, I would back off and it would shoot flame. Lots of flame. Pedestrians. Hello.
Hey there.
Anyway, yes, as I was saying, it would shoot flame when I backed off, and I made it home, and a lot of people said I should be worried that I might have hurt the exhaust valve, but it never seemed to be hurt, at least by that. My brother, Richard, had not come on the ride, but he was certainly home when I got there, and I think he was talking to somebody on the phone. He said, I think Dave's here, but something must be wrong, because the trike sounds awfully loud. And indeed it was awfully loud. Awfully loud. So eventually I got the pipe sorted. I think I replaced it. I probably still have the one that was in there somewhere around. It's funny, at some point years ago I did buy a replacement that's supposed to be very much like the original. The back part of it anyway. I still haven't put it on. It's only probably been 20 years. The one that I have on there now, I think it came from a two-wheel version, and I turned it sideways and stuck it on, and you know, it's been fine. So I have not done a whole lot to make it, you know, correct and perfect. I haven't ridden it all that much, but I hope to do so more and more. And I don't mean I'm going to ride across Canada or anything. I'd love to go to Milwaukee one day, though. I'm not sure if I would ride it the whole way there. Maybe I would. I would certainly, if I was going to, I would plan a lot of back roads, secondary highways, and quiet border crossings. And I suppose if I didn't do that, then I'd throw it on a trailer and make it look like I rode all the way, like a lot of people do. Well, as you can see, the sun is slowly going down over the house, and more of the bike is heading into the shade. So, I am of two minds. It is such a lovely day that I think I do want to go out for another little ride. I'm not sure. I like to think that when I do these things, I have somewhere that I intend to go to get something. At this moment, I'm not sure there's anything I really need to get. I got the oil for the transmission. I did look at the store I was at to see if I could find another wire crimping set to correct the problem with the wiring on the headlight that I have twisted back together, but really it needs to be fixed properly. But I couldn't find any wire crimping anything there, so I just stuck with the oil. So, I mean, I don't really need a reason to go putter around. I suppose, even though the gas should be pretty full, I suppose I could go and put in a little bit more to be ready for morning, because I really don't want to stop in the morning. And if I go, I do plan on going very early, and I have a route planned that will take me on no highways, mostly side streets. There is one stretch that's on a main street, but it is, you know, it's 4 lanes, and I can putter in the slow lane. And if I'm in it, it will be the slow lane. And then the rest of the way is all through side streets, and it should be quiet and peaceful. I suppose one of the things I should do if I'm going to do this is I should, because as much as it's going to be lovely tomorrow, and I know it will be, usually the morning, of course, will be cooler. So I should look to make sure that I can be somewhat bundled and somewhat warmer than not. Once again, not that this thing is really fast, but, you know, if I'm out riding on it for half an hour or so, and if it's cold, I'll get cold, and then I'll probably get a cold. And as you can hear, I'm still kind of fighting off a cold. So, I think it is almost time to turn the camera off, turn the trike on, and maybe go to the gas station. Just trying to think, what else would I do? Good question. Oh, before we call it a day, as it were, perhaps I will get up and go over and show you the one thing. And this all goes back to Big John. Big John on his trike. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. He and other people, another fellow called Little John, in the trike club, all had these accessories added to their trikes. And Big John had it on a button. Little John had it on a toggle switch, which was always fun, because occasionally, when he wasn't paying attention, we would flip the toggle switch. And, of course, with the ignition off, nothing would happen. But when he flipped the ignition on, if the toggle switch was flipped, then the horn would go off. And the toggle switch wasn't right in front of him, so usually it was a bit of a struggle to get it turned off. But anyway, I had one of these horns, and for a long time I tried to figure out where can I put it that it isn't going to get hurt, that it isn't going to get ruined, and it's going to be okay and not get in the way of anything or hurt anything. And I did find a button to put it on and wire it up, which you probably can't see from there, but there it is. And it's in a position where it's not the easiest thing to get to, but I know that if I sort of reach straight down and right beside me, just down a little bit, maybe 8 inches below the diamond on the seat, mind you, I guess less, because when I'm sitting on the seat is a little bit lower, that I can find the button without having any trouble or danger of putting my hand where it shouldn't be, and I can hit the horn, usually to the amusement of people. And once again, if you think back to the Waltons, you likely heard a horn such as this on that show. So, I think just before I sign off, I might crank up the horn. Might crank up the horn, might even crank up the engine so you can hear it. And then, for today, I think we'll call it a day. So, as I was saying, this is the one thing that I've added to this fine machine. The button is right there. And when I push it, think of John Boy. Think of Grandpa. Think of the Waltons. It's a great thing. Anyway, every time I honk that horn, I think of Big John, who was a really nice, wonderful man who left us too soon. So with that, I will leave you with farewell for now, and also on the at the funeral there was a picture of him, and on the back of it was a cookie recipe that I still haven't tried, but I will. I'm not sure, I'll have to read it through to see whose it was, or if it was his, or what it was. But on the front side, where he was, and looking quite fine, and looking quite happy, and looking quite joyful, it said quite simply, "Ride free, my brother, ride free." Ah, yes, hello. I had a thought, and that is that I am going to fire this up and just take it for one little test zoom before going to the gas station. So prepare to hear the epic power of 45 incredibly unpowerful cubic inches.
Hi there.
Hello. Hey, good job.
Thank you. What's that? Oh, let him,
It would be mayhem.
yeah. It just depends on the dog.
Oh, yes. Oh, no. These three. Oh, no. We spoke of the backfires, or I spoke of the backfires. I will do my best to show you what I mean by that. So that was, I believe, 1 Harley and 1 Victory. And if you don't know what that is, well, I don't know enough to tell you what it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this up. I'm going to back up a little bit, not using reverse. I'm just going to go down the street and back. Oh. And I'm sure you'll hear what the people in Dallas heard that day besides the bullets, or besides the gunfire. I hear another bike. And so there you have it. Probably some of the backfires, very much like heard on the streets of Dallas. Probably before, during, and after the Kennedy assassination. And why do I say that? Well, because if there's a SERVI-CAR there, as sure as there's going to be oil on the ground, you will hear the sound of backfires. Anyway, enough for today. It is time to time to get some gas and time to plan for tomorrow. Until we meet again, ride free, my brother, ride free. Hello, good afternoon. As it is spring, I was going to check the level of the oil. Yes, it is oil that goes into the transmission on these old beasts. I don't know what goes in on modern machines. So I went unto my garage, because I have such oil, or so I thought. It seems that I am out of it. So, I am not concerned that it is empty in there, but I would very much like to make sure that there's certainly enough, if not more than enough in there. And I very carefully got this situated on a bit of an angle because more goes in when it's on a nice angle. But it does seem that I'm out of it. I do have some other oil that I could use. It's 50 weight. But for years and years and years, I've used the 80W90. It's thick, mighty thick. And in the engine, I used to use 60 weight, but I couldn't even get that recently at the Harley dealer. So I've been using 50. And at the moment, I can't even find that at Canadian Tire. So soon it's going to be time to change the oil, and I will have to find some mighty thick oil from somewhere. So I suppose right now, as it is a lovely, lovely day, I could go in the car, but I don't think so. I think I will crank this up, go for a little putt, likely to Canadian Tire. I could go, there's maybe other stores I could go to that are closer. Maybe I'll try a closer store first. Anyway, oh, I see we're drifting into the shadows there. So, when I return, I will show you that it's a very scientific, carefully tested method to get just the right amount of oil in there. So, thank you for coming. Next time, we'll actually get the oil in there. Bye for now. Hello. So it is time to put some oil into the transmission. And that kind of bolt is the filler. It is very unique. It is 9/16. Where is it? Here it is. And it looks... Let me see about this. So the engine is hot, so I want to be careful not to hurt myself. Ooh. And this thing, ooh. It does not want to come. It is usually not so tight. I'll try again. Whew. So, it is its own special thing. It is. Put it on the bike. Then, I made sure to park on a bit of a hill. Not a ton of a hill, but some of a hill. And then I take this bottle and I line it up and I squeeze it in. And why do I put it on a hill? Well, because it means a little bit more will go in. I don't know how much is supposed to be in here. I don't know if there's a filler like thing. I do know over the winter it always seems to lose a bunch. So I haven't ridden much this year. But I certainly don't want to ruin the transmission because I didn't bother to put oil in. Oh my, it's still taking more. Okay, we're getting there. I don't know if you can see, but it looks like I can now see some. So I'll squeeze in a bit more. Maybe a little bit more. And then, oh yeah, it's flowing out. And I'll put this on very gently. Do not want to burn myself. And then, oh, okay, a little tweak. Okay. Oh. And there we have it. And I'm told, you're supposed to use the same oil in the transmission as in the engine. But I've had trouble getting the 60 weight oil for the engine that I want. So, for a while, and maybe this would be fine too for the engine, I don't know, but it's 80W90. Excuse me. It's 80W90 gear oil. High performance, extreme pressure, limited slip. And I don't know how much it just took, but it felt like it took quite a bit. So, that's a good thing. It's always good to have lubrication. It is. So, I will check that again at some point. I'm suspecting now I will probably leave more oil lying around, because I think the transmission on most of these bikes usually, leaked, as did the engine. Because as they say, if there isn't oil under it, there is no oil in it. So now that that is done, perhaps I will take this for a little tear. I did get a little oil on the exhaust, oh dear me, so that'll burn off. So there, I have added oil to the transmission, and I must check and see at some point if this oil would be acceptable for the engine or not. I don't know. It says gear oil, high performance, extreme pressure. It doesn't say anything about temperature. And the 45 engine gets hot. Anyway, so there. Oh, one thing I would say is that filler thing, I'm sure they're available here and there, but you won't find them at the hardware store. So really, don't lose it. And it's not a bad thing if you ever see one at the swap meet or anything to just pick it up as a spare, because I can't imagine if I lost that what I would do, or where I would look immediately to find another. Oh. So, there. We have fresh oil in the transmission. Until we meet again, ride free, my brother.
I don't want you too far ahead of us. Come on, Tristan.
Bye.